Hey everyone, thank you so much for being here today. I am Eden with the Connection Effect, and today I have with me Carol Anderson and Janine with Lions Wealth Builders. They are going to talk about what it is to have some financial stability and have a chance to dive into a few products and services that they offer. I'm going to hand it over to Janine real quick to introduce herself, and we'll get started.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Eden. And the reason a lot of people sometimes are looking for the services that we are providing is because in general, a lot of the times we recognize that this industry that people teach us about what we're supposed to be doing in our own lives, whether it's how to make money and how to spend money, is never really the necessary tools on how to keep that money and how to grow it. And so here with Alliance Wealth Builders, we not only establish personal plans for each individual person who comes and sits down with us, whether they become a client or even a business partner with us. We're able to show and develop people how to really have wealth, not only start, but continue to grow prosperously. And so what Eden had also mentioned is a couple of the products that we do provide within Alliance Wealth Builders is not only that plan, but overall a free education when it comes to financial literacy about what types of products we do provide. Like she had mentioned, we look at what it means to have people who have cash accumulation growing, opportunities within saving money within different programs or policies that allow them to have top performances, and also promise in areas to have them guaranteed comes and incomes and also strategies. And with that, we're able to provide definitely different sources where having them feel their needs are being met, and also areas where they can get their curiosities fulfilled themselves. And so, like she had mentioned, with Alliance Wealth Builders, we look at a wide range of people, not only here in the United States, but also Canada, who can partner with us and also have their progress be met and empowered in their communities. And so, at least for me, my name's Janine Watkins. I was an engineer by trade, but I became a financial aid agent by choice because I started recognizing that I not only wanted to build projects, I powerfully wanted to impact individuals to have them meeting their goals and hitting their trajectories in life. And so with me again, Janine Watkins here with Alliance Wealth Builders. I am so grateful and so honored to be working with the one and only Carol Anderson. Carol, do you want to explain and introduce yourself a little bit?
Sure. Thank you, Janine. And it's so great to be here with you, Eden. And this, I think what you're doing is wonderful. I think this series that you're running is really good. As everybody has mentioned, sometimes the financial parts of our lives can provide a lot of anxiety. And hopefully today we will be able to eliminate or alleviate some of that anxiety. I am Carol Anderson. I have been a teacher for 22 years. I have a bachelor's degree in special education and elementary education. And I also have two master's degrees, both in education and environmental science education, which are extremely important to me. I have been teaching for 22 years, and I recently returned back home to my childhood home to help take care of my father. He's 84 years old and he's struggling a bit in his health. And I am so excited to be partnering within the Lions Wealth Builders because, as Janine mentioned, the education part of it is so important. And, being a teacher for 22 years, I do know that not a lot of what we talk about is specifically taught in school. So I am, going to take those 22 years of experience that I have teaching, all different types of people, all different ages. I've taught everything K through 12, and take that or those skills and just create a second career where I can give this information that I feel is so valuable out. So thank you for having me here.
Yeah, thank you so much, both of you, for introducing yourselves and taking the time to be with me here today. I am truly grateful that both of you stepped up and wanted to offer your knowledge and to share some of the things that you have to offer, but also to connect with people from all walks of life, give them an opportunity to take a peek into what it is that you do, how it relates to your life, and how it can help them live a better life. So thank you so much for that. So let's get started. Let's just dive right in. Carol, I would love to jump into this, this light that you just mentioned, that you were a teacher for 22 years. You are a teacher of 22 years, having that background, and taking a look at this opportunity that you're currently exploring, and wanting to help people in a different way. So let's look at that, and maybe you can kind of explain what it is that you do with Lions Wealth Builders, and what brought you to it, you know, from your background in teaching.
Yeah, sure. I actually stumbled upon this opportunity for myself through my sister, who was looking for life insurance, and she, you know, met with Janine and did whatever they do, the financial analysis and that kind of stuff. And I didn't know anything about it. And she comes to me and says, you know what, this is not only a really valuable bit of information that I didn't know about, but it sounds like it's you. It sounds like what they are trying to do is what you have been trying to do all these years in teaching. Now, I teach, my teaching experience has been all over the place, but my last 16 years have been in an inner city school, you know, and that can have its own, I think most people realize it can have its own set of problems that are different from others. There's a lot of students, children that we see whose families are just underserved. And when I watched the presentation, the business part of this particular firm with Lions Wealth Builders, it hit me that yes, there is a huge population of people that are underserved by the financial industry. And it became a almost instantaneous passion for me to make a difference there. Everything that I know, the families and stuff that I work with in school really could benefit from this information, and they just aren't given it. It's just one of those things. I personally have a background where I struggled a lot, and I was never given this information. And I did a lot of research in my years trying to make sure that I had the best vehicles for savings and to be the most efficient with what I was doing. I was, you know, working a lot of hours, and I wanted to make that money count. And I still didn't find this information. So it's now become my goal. It's now become my mission to get this information out there. And that is why I'm here with Lions Wealth Builders now.
Yeah, that's so good. So can you tell me a little bit about specifically what it is that you want to share? You know, the information that you didn't have before, but now you have it, and you have this opportunity to just share it with the world. What is it specifically?
Well, specifically, so I knew a lot about retirement accounts, IRAs. I even looked into the Roth IRA, which is a different savings vehicle because it allows for tax deferred, tax exempt saving. Most businesses give us, you know, tax deferred, the 401k, the traditional IRA, or the pension. These things are tax deferred, but when you retire, they become taxable. It's taxable income. So now you're earning money now and you're deferring it, but you're going to pay a tax at a higher rate, most likely, after you've retired. And it's not a great way. You end up losing the hard-earned money that you have saved. Whereas with Lions Wealth Builders, I became knowledgeable of the tax exempt strategies that are out there, and that will make a huge difference. I know that, you know, my age, I'm in an age range where, you know, it's going to be a little bit different for some young people right now who could really benefit and really turn this into a growth wealth growth and savings vehicle, but at any time it is important to start savings. So that is one of the things that was the most eye-opening for me when I started working with this company. But we also offer other things. We budget, we can help with, the monthly budget and, wills and trusts and those types of things. We can connect people with the people that are going to be helpful in that area and that we have a really good business relationship with, that are trustworthy. So those are just, the tax exempt thing was what I really didn't know about, and it seems to be the most important thing for growing
Yeah,
wealth.
and that is important. It's good to know that that's something that you work with directly, and you can help educate people on that, to kind of strategize how to make their money work better for them on a regular basis, but also in retirement, just overall financial health and wealth. Having that perspective, that you can sit down with them and go over that information that will most benefit them, right?
And there's also, things, I think it's getting to be a little more common. I think people do hear about this a little bit more, but when you're planning for the long-term care is a whole other aspect that, 20 years ago, we were not talking about long-term care. We've come into a time in our society where we have parents who are, living longer, and they did not have access to the long-term care savings and the different types of tax exempt programs that are out there today. So that we are in a situation where it's very hard to pay for the longer lives that we're having. When there's, even if you are extremely healthy, if you can, manage to get around on your own and take care of yourself, but you saved in vehicles that you're now being taxed on. And 30 years ago when you were saving, the tax rates were different. There was just different tax codes. So a lot of our seniors are finding it very hard to make ends meet. And with Lines Wealth Builders, we take a good hard look at that, and we look to what can we put into place now that can help you meet a certain income goal, or whatever your goals are in the future, especially during that time. And I think that right now that is really important. I've watched my father struggle. The same thing happened with my mother before she passed away. And, they planned really well. My parents were both teachers, and they had a great teacher's pension, and they had wonderful insurance, and they are still, and they actually are doing better than a lot of other teachers with what they've done. My mother was kind of a strategist out there. I didn't realize she was even doing some of this stuff, but, she had things worked out so that she knew exactly how much had to come out of their Social Security check in taxes. And then some of the pension checks didn't even need to be taxed, didn't have to have withholding, is what I should say. They are taxed because now they are considered income. But she figured things out, and it's still a struggle because these important things that we now have access to that most people don't know about, they didn't know about either. So I think that is something that's really important. I know, at my age, I'm really looking at that. I'm looking to, build, even for however many years I have left till I retire, I need to build something a little bit more than just what is, my pension, which isn't a fully funded pension. I have not been a teacher long enough. And by the time I reach age 65, I still will not have been a teacher long enough to have a fully funded pension. So I'm thinking of my own children. What happens when I reach my father's age and I need help? So it's just become very important to really look at that. And as I said, I know it can be a source of anxiety for a lot of people when they have to consider those things, but planning for them now, not 10 years from now, really does make a difference. it would make a huge difference. And, you know, again, this is why we're doing what we're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, you kind of touched on a really great point, that if you, if you're not brought up in an environment where you're taught these things regularly or consistently, that you may have to wait until later to find the information or to be introduced to it. And that may create that anxiety that you mentioned, but also the earlier you start, the better, just to have that awareness and that knowledge, and you know, to put some plans in place so that you can get to a point later in life where you don't have that anxiety, where you can just take that deep breath and have an exhale, where you can where you can know that you have something in place, whether it's your pension or some of the other products that you guys offer, and just solidifying what your future looks like so that you're breathing and you're not overwhelmed and so anxious about it. So those are all really great points. And so I would like to know, what does it look like whenever someone starts to consider maybe looking at what their future might be, whether they have something in place or whether they don't? What are a few things that you do specifically with Lions Wealth Builders that can kind of help them through that process?
Well, the first thing that we do is we really sit down and we take a look at what is happening now. Where are you right now? Do you have plans in place? Is there something? Are you savings? Are you creating a savings? Do you have an emergency savings? What do you have a budget? And you know, the budget is another thing that can be so stressful. To me, it is really a lifesaver. I rely on my budget like I can't even describe. And I have for years now been trying to get, I budget for everybody, my family. I was teaching some of the kids, my high school kids in school, how to budget. And I've encountered a lot of resistance around budgeting. And to me, I think to myself, oh, this is like the easiest thing. And it makes my life so freeing to not have to worry when there is a budget in place. We could just take my daughter, for instance. She always wanted me to plan a budget. Mom, help me with my budget. And then I would take care of everything and I would set it up. Today, it's great because you can put things in place that are like automatic in bill pay with your bank, and you don't even have to go back in. You can just automatically pay these things as long as you budget for them. And I would set everything up for her, and she would, you know, a lot of resistance. I don't want to put that away. I don't want to do that. I just want to, and she would go in and borrow every now and then from her budget. And it would be such a nightmare. And in the last year and a half, she has come to trust me on the budget. Her budget is like magic. And we just talked about it today. She's only 30 years old and she does have quite a heavy monthly budget. I mean, we're talking $2,600 she budgets. But when she does that, and she does it like it can be set up easy, she does it daily because she has a job that she doesn't have a salary. She works days, and you know, and her budget is worked out to the day. So every day, this is the amount you have to put in. The rest you can keep. I don't care what you do with it. And she just told me, I just got off the phone with her earlier today, and she said, how's Aunt Susie doing with that budget? And I said, oh, Megan. She's like, did you tell her it's the best thing that ever happened to me? So I'm like, maybe you better call Aunt Susie, because Aunt Susie is really, you know, very resistant to it too. I just think understanding where your money is, what you do with it every day. And like, I can quote mine. I know mine to the cent. I know what's in my account. I know, and that's a comfort to me, because if I have extra money and it goes not into the budget account, then I know I can spend it however I want. That's my, you know, my discretional money. I can do whatever I want with it. But my budget is taken care of. So I think that is one thing that we do right off the bat. We have a financial needs analysis and we talk budget. Our clients will fill out their expenses and their income, and then they'll make note of any of those plans that they may already have, that they've started, a 401k, a 403b, a Roth IRA, traditional. And we take a look at all of that. And then we create opportunities. We create the plans, we can give several plans that we think this is how you will get to where you need to be from where you are right now. So in that respect, it's taking baby steps. It's not something that is, very overwhelming, and it's not something that changes, so drastically on the first day. We're starting with you where you are, and we're working on a plan to get you to where you want to be. And budgeting is one of the biggest things that, we notice most people don't have, and that they really need if they want to understand where they're going and how to get there.
Yeah, and that's so important because as a coach, as a life coach, I also sit down with my clients and we look at where they are right now in this moment. We may dive into old habits and limiting beliefs from a long time ago, and how those stories that are created impact how they behave today. However, we looked at where they are today and where they want to be. And so using tools and resources along the way, they can feel more secure and less anxious about what that future looks like. And so it sounds like you guys also do that. You're very good about kind of taking a snapshot of what their current situation is and giving them a projection of what it could look like so that they are more optimistic and more hopeful and have that peace and that reassurance that everything that they're doing and everything that they're working on solidifies that future is theirs, and that they are creating that for themselves and for their future generations, whether it's their children or other loved ones in their lives. So that's important, and I think that that's fantastic that you guys do that.
Well, and not only that, but it also it directly affects your just your well-being. You know where that's coming from a personal coach. I mean, any time you can look at something and say, this is where I need to go. And it's funny because a lot of this is some of the same techniques and strategies that we use when we teach. You bring a small child in who, struggles with reading and really believes there's no way they're ever going to get to be able to read a chapter book. And you put little steps in place and you teach them those little steps. And before you know it, they're reading chapter books. And that is the same thing that, we would like to make happen with people and their finances. And again, we mentioned earlier, if you don't know that these things exist, you could be actively looking. You could be asking people, you can be going to Consumer Credit Counseling Service and try to get information from them, and they are not giving. I have a personal experience with that. This information was not given to me, and I was actively searching. I, had a lot of school loans, and, information about the school loans was not given to me by my providers and things like that. So it just became very hard to know that you were looking and looking and asking, and there was just no information. But there is information, and that, we can provide that, and it's nice to have someone to work with. In the Lions Wealth Builders, we don't ever leave you. We don't set you up with a plan or a program and then say goodbye, good luck. I mean, we meet with our clients at least once a year, and anytime they need to in between, we offer all kinds of education. As Janine mentioned, those things that you might just be a little bit curious about. Well, we have classes that we offer that you could find a little more information about these things that you're looking for. So, you really create like a partnership and a friend with the people that have the answers. Until this point, you've relied on your friends and your family. And as I mentioned with my parents, they did a really good job. And that information that they didn't have, they couldn't give to me.
Right.
So as much as we want to provide what we can to our children and to our friends, if we don't have the information, we're not giving them the whole story. And this is why this becomes a partnership where you can learn the whole story as often as you need to learn something new,
Well
Yeah.
said, Carol.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted to add one thing too, on top of what Carol just mentioned. It's realizing, yes, wherever you are, and I get so excited about this because we sit down with people who have never done this before. And then we sit down with people who are literally almost considered experts by whatever education they have had. And so what we are so grateful to be able to provide is just meeting them where they're at. And like Carol had mentioned, not only do we provide different classes about finances in 101, how to never lose money, we have case studies, we have different opportunities for different providers to come and speak with us. And then the other thing that I love offering people is not only meeting them where they're at, but giving them an opportunity to bring us their stuff throughout the years as we sit down with clients and potential clients, and literally figuring out what actually is still in holes or areas where we can have them practicing their own independence on finding their financial answers. Because like Carol had mentioned, so often people are seeking these areas for them to find it. If they're not finding it, sometimes they'll resolve for what they are. And we want them to not only be the best met, but we want to be able to add those strategy funnels so they can actually find where they are the best for their fit. So good, Carol.
Yeah, and that's so important that you mentioned that, Janine. I think that, whenever you establish a relationship with someone, it's important to keep that connection strong and trustworthy and reliable, but especially when it comes to money, whenever it comes to our finances, when it comes to our livelihood, just protecting that relationship in a way that you're fostering it and you are nurturing it and building upon it, so that not only is the client confident that you are there to help them and lead them along the way, but they also come back to you when they have questions, because they will then start to want to know more, maybe, or just start to explore different options, and that you're there to kind of walk them through that, or provide resources for them to get more education on it. So that's a great point, Janine. Thank you for mentioning that. And one of the things that I wanted to mention is, Carol, as someone that has been teaching for, a couple of decades now, having that that background and that relationship with your students, but also knowing how important it is to create that trust and that relationship with the person that's handling your money, with the person that's holding those finances for you, and kind of transitioning into how that looks for your clients whenever you work with them. Do you actively reach out to them, or do you, how does that work? How does that relationship work whenever they decide that they want to do that financial needs analysis? What does it look like going forward?
Well, we do a meeting. We usually give a kind of overview. We start the whole process with an overview about what it is that we do. We also talk a little bit, and I'm going to mention this now, but we can come back to this later. We also talk a little bit about the opportunity that is the business of this, the doing, the training, the education, putting this out there and changing the way your community feels about money and everything else. So we talk a little bit about that, but there's a presentation that we do go through, and we say, why it's important, why, where this information is, and is it available, and do you know about it, and how it looks. We do a couple of maybe little mini case studies to say, like, if you're saving $100 a month, and you're having it in a taxed savings vehicle, like a checking account or a savings account or a CD. This is what it looks like after 10 years. If you're in a tax deferred, saving that same $100, this is what it looks like to you in tax deferred when you want to start using that money, and then the tax exempt. And there's a comparison of the same $100 and how much that you end up keeping in a taxed account, in a tax deferred, and in a tax exempt. And of course, in the tax exempt, you are keeping all of it. So the same $100, you might end up with 100,000 less in the end in any of those other things. And it's mainly because of how it comes out in fees and the taxes and everything. So we look at the whole process of what it is that we do. And we just simply give this information and then ask people, do you want? We have complimentary financial needs analysis that we run, whereas we just collect information that is not, we don't collect social security numbers or anything like that from people, just your expenses and your income. And like I said, what programs do you already have your money in? What savings vehicles are you using? And what are your goals? And after collecting that information, we go and run those numbers against plans, something out there. And with our company, we are not limited to just one company that would overwrite some of this stuff for us. We can reach 150 different companies to see where we can actually get the best vehicle to put you in to get you from here to your dreams.
Yeah.
And then we would meet again and give that information. And this is what it looks like.
Yeah. And the number you're using so powerfully is the 150, right? Because like Carol's mentioning, we're actually a non-captive license holders of our firm. Our firm allows us to shop around. And so like she's mentioning, there's over 150 top A-rated companies within the financial industry that we can not only pull different insurance or illustrations, annuities, 401ks, whatever the best type of strategy is for your portfolio, and match it with them. And so like you're mentioning, Eden, what do we do with our clients? Well, as financial professionals, we have no inventory. We have no products that we actually hold ourselves. What we're so proud we're able to do with our licenses is to match people with different policies and different products like Carol had mentioned, and have them be represented with those top A-rated financial companies. And what we are so grateful that we're able to do then is work with our clients on their behalf to make sure they're getting the best performances in their products. And then like she had mentioned, whether it be an annual review every couple of months, birthdays, holidays, any celebrations, we usually reach back out to our clients if they're not reaching out to us to let them know if there's different ways to start upgrading or increasing the performances. Because again, we just represent the industry and we allow our friends and families to know while they're working with us, we're able to provide them the best products as we continue their education to grow in their financial literacy and leaving their legacies.
Yeah, that's great. I think it's relevant to today's situation. Whenever we are unsure of what our future looks like, or maybe we have things in place that we've had there for a while. We just want someone to kind of take a look at it to see if it's the best option, if it's the best thing for us, but also doing that projection of knowing that things have been going well, or maybe they haven't been going well, just that things are in place, but here are some options for the future that would be optimized and best for your client. In that you've got you said 150 different companies, or yeah, that's amazing. I mean, that to me anyway, that sounds like you have lots of options, but also it really is all about what's best for the client and their future.
Yeah. And some of the companies, I know we don't really mention too many, although talking about, like she's mentioning, tax deferred, tax exempt, any strategies like Vanguard, PIMCO, Nationwide, Everett, Specific Life. We look at, again, any area that we can cater to their needs, and we're matching them. And I love, yes, Eden, what we love to do more than just giving them those eyes, like we had mentioned, people who have already things in place. We love giving that second set of complementary eyes just to help people become more educated in what they are already doing. Yes.
Yeah. And that's so good because, you know, things change, situations change throughout our lives, whether it's a job or a family situation, our health, just that financial overview can change drastically, you know. It can change overnight, let alone throughout the year. And having someone that is trustworthy and reliable that will provide insight into what would be great and best for them, but also giving them options, giving them a wide variety of things to look at so that it's not just one path to success. It's, you know, allowing them to actively participate in their own success, in their own future, in their own portfolio going forward.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that.
That diversification is very important too. You know, you
Yes.
can't put all your eggs in one basket kind of
Yep.
thing. And that is another thing. We've worked with clients recently who kind of did have eggs in one basket and, you know, did a really good job filling the basket. But things within that program, within that plan, were not necessarily in the best interest. There was many mistakes that were made, and it just, you know, allowed this client of ours to look at the whole picture and say, oh, I need to readjust. Like, I didn't realize this was happening. And now we've, you know, given him the information to be able to look at all of that and straighten it out now when he, you know, is still able, and it's not in a, you know, emergency situation when a life event happened and something did change. He has the opportunity to fix what was, you know, and again, did a wonderful job putting the eggs in the baskets, you know, but just, you know, taking a look at that again every so often. So
that's good. And that's a really good point. Because, you know, so often we either don't know or we get misinformation, or maybe at the time, the information was relevant and it was best suited for us in that moment. But as things change or the economy changes, the whole world changes, we have to look at other options to make sure that we still have that security and, you know, that same opportunity, if not better than what we had before. So yeah, that diversification, I've heard that so many times, instead of putting all the eggs in one basket, to really to build on that and give yourself cushion and room, so that you're not stuck, so that you're not, you know, getting to a point where something happens and all of your eggs are now being used.
broken. Smashed.
Yes, I guess that's a good way to
Yes.
put it. Yeah. So yeah, that's a good way to explain that. Okay, very good. Well, I definitely would love to hear a couple of tips or suggestions that you have for the audience, maybe somebody that is just starting out, or someone that has been investing for a while. What are a couple of things that you would like to offer, either you, Carol, or Janine, that would be beneficial for them going forward?
Well, I think the first step is really taking a good hard look at what you are doing currently. And again, you don't have to do it on your own. We can always be helpful there. Aside from any plan or product that we could put you in, our biggest concern is giving you the education you need to make the decisions that are going to be right for you. So we can help with that. we can help with budget. As I mentioned, the financial needs analysis is complimentary. It costs you nothing to meet with us. Look at what we have to do. We can help you. We can give you those tools. We can give you the expense sheet and, you know, a way to inventory what you already have. And then we can make sense of it with you. We can look at it and say, you know, this is something that we found. You don't even have to go to that thing, but I think the biggest thing is to take a look at where you are and get a good handle on where you want to be. And
Mhm.
if you don't know how to get there, then to reach out to people who can help you see the path to get there. And you know, that really is my biggest thing. I mean, the budget, it seems like such a little thing, and it's so very easy to do. And it doesn't matter if you get paid, you know, twice a month, or if you get paid every other week, or if you get paid daily, that it can be tailored to you. And you would know exactly how much you need to make. Both of my kids, and again, they're 30 and 30, 31 and 32, and they both have jobs where now my son just recently took a job where he does have, you know, hours that he can work every week, and he gets paid every other week, but they were both working like daily freelance type of stuff. You have a job now and then you don't, and they needed budgets that worked with something like that. And it's, you know, it's a harder way to go. During the pandemic, they both lost their jobs because they were in an industry that was not open during the pandemic for a long time. So they had to readjust. And, you know, now they have budgets, they stick to their budgets, and they know at least the bills are paid. This is what, and it's very, as I said, freeing. But you know, we have our information to give, and people can easily set up an appointment with one of us and go forward with that. If nothing else, it's just a good tool to start with, to see that and do a complimentary financial needs analysis, see where it is that you want to go.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
Um,
I definitely, oh, I'm sorry, Janine, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say another offering that we do provide for everyone, and regardless of where you are financially, is a complimentary sit down with a legal attorney to look at your will and trust. Again, just to sit down with someone, this is usually a $500 to a $1,500 opportunity that by just sitting down with us during our firm, we can have you sitting down with one of those professionals to talk about specifics of where and what would actually be provided in your coverage to actually put those legal law-abiding pieces of paper in place. Because we never want anyone who has the opportunity to avoid probate to not have that power. So that's another opportunity of gifts that we do provide as just a service for sitting down with us and being prepared to start talking about a future. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a really great point too, Janine. That's a huge value for anyone, really, even if it's not already done or in place for someone who has you know, their financial needs being met and or have something in place, but to have you know, that service to meet with an attorney, you know, put documents in place so that the family doesn't have to question or wonder later on in life what will take place and what happens from there. So that's a great value. Thank you for bringing that up. And, you know, something that I think is really relevant also is that it sounds like, to me anyway, that your services, your products and services are good for anyone, whether they are just starting to budget or someone who is established, has, you know, a few products and services that they're already using, but they would like more or like you said, Janine, a second set of eyes. So it kind of opens it up for a wide variety of people to reach out, you know, see what you guys offer, see how they could benefit from you, what services you have available that may help them get to their future goals a little bit faster, or even just creating those goals to begin with, understanding what they need to do to get to meet those financial goals. So yeah, I really appreciate you guys sharing that. And I also wondered if you could share with us how best someone could reach out to you and get connected with you, whether it's through email, phone number. What would be best for someone to reach out?
Okay, well, I have a phone number that I could give. We can post it with this video, an email address. It works best to do a phone call if that works well for you, because we can do our, scheduling of time to sit down, and there's not a lot of back and forth. But I know people are busy, and if back and forth with an email because you're going to be emailing at midnight, that works too. We'll work with anything. But
Okay.
we will give you our information so that you can reach out, and you can post it with this discussion.
Okay, very good. And I definitely wanted, this is just for me personally, because I think that, Carol, I think you're amazing, by the way. But I wanted to give
Shucks.
that special shout out to both of you, and then also to our teachers out there that are, taking that step forward to look at what their future looks like, whether they're financially set or, transitioning careers. And, I think that this is a good opportunity for you, Carol, to share with them, what you've learned and how these products and services can really benefit them, and to help them put them at ease, give them that breath, like we were talking about earlier, that expansion, that ease of mind, that it'll be okay, and help them set those goals so that they're not so stressed out. So
Well, not only that, but I don't know any teachers personally that don't work a side job. I mean, I know a lot of teachers, I've worked with a lot of them. And when your kids are going to college, and, everybody that I work with personally picks up a side job, whether they do it during the summer or, they work after school, and we all tutor, and those kind of things are great, but it's not, this is an excellent opportunity for a teacher who's looking for a second career or a part-time job. This could be done at any amount of time that you want to put in, and it's kind of brilliant because it's something you already know how to do. It's taking those skills that you've been doing for your whole career and turning them into just something else, just transferring it to not public school children or school children, but to their parents. It's really an excellent opportunity for that as well. So if there's any teachers who are out there listening who just want that little bit of extra, this is a great way to get that and still do what you love, because
Yeah.
that is our biggest thing, teachers in general, getting that information out. We're all lifelong learners, and we know how important it is, and this is just one more aspect that really gets missed. So
yeah, and that's so important. So thank you for sharing that, Carol, for sure. Okay, well, was there anything else that either one of you would like to share with our listeners?
Thank you for taking the opportunity to listen on how to expand just your financial education. Again, we're in this industry specifically because we recognize it touches all areas, all departments, and more than just building up the wealth. We want you all to know your worth, whatever the while is, to have yourself start expanding in your education within your finances as well. Thank you.
well said. And thank you everyone for taking part in this discussion with us.
Yay.
All right, ladies. Well, thank you so much for being here today. I am so grateful for your time and your effort. And to our audience, thank you so much for watching and listening. We'll get this information shared on Facebook and on YouTube. Stay tuned. There will be a Spotify and Apple podcast coming soon. Until then, if you know of someone that would like to co-host with me, have them reach out at theconnectioneffect@gmail.com. See you soon.